Well, here we are. Good to see everybody this morning. Let's open with a prayer. As we open this service with a prayer, we open the prayer with what we know to be the most potent words that we can speak. Thank you. And we continue by recognizing that there is only one God, one Father, Mother, Parent, Creator of the one life, known by many names, but still only one. That life is perfect, complete, and divine, and it is my life now and the life of all people, animals, all nature, everywhere. And everyone here, out there, everywhere, are united together in this one life as one family. So faithfully and fondly from this place of recognition, we open our hearts and minds here this morning to learn the spiritual principles that form the foundation of our faith, and to trust what we know is true of Spirit within us today, tomorrow, eternally. And so it is. So, good morning again. You have found your way to the Louisville Center for Spiritual Living teaching chapter, and I am Pat Ferguson, your spiritual director for 2022. Welcome to the month of March also. And so by now you have noticed that with a new month comes new songs and new affirmations, even new colors to brighten our morning. And CSL Home Office theme for this month is play, which seems very appropriate for the birth month of spring, don't you think? And today, Vicky is speaking about our spirit-given capacity for great joy, and to remind us that play is a sacred activity divinely designed to intentionally help us lighten our loads. Because as human, we tend to get all caught up in day-to-day business. So we'll start by saying it's my custom to always open in the pre-dawn hours when I light my candle. I light this guide candle to welcome you as you come here. And I hope that it'll be the first thing you notice when you get on, because it will always be lit for you. And welcome you we do. If this is a different denomination from what you're used to, or how you were raised, or even if this is your first experience at a church or any kind of faith experience, we welcome you. All are welcome here. And the most important thing for you to know is that you, this hour, you are welcome here. Join me in saying our mission and vision statement: to teach personal transformation as a virtual community, living the principles of science of mind and celebrating all paths to God. And our vision statement: a world that honors and respects all people. And I wanted to say, I forgot to point out that behind our guide candle is a green frog for the month of March, and he has my mala beads around his neck, so he's a very meditating frog. So he will be with us for the month of March. Our opening song this morning, I Am the Place Where God Shows Up, by Eddie Watkins Jr.
Am I strong enough to bear the burdens that sometimes come, living this thing called life. Am I wise enough to make the right decisions when I'm standing at the fork in the road? Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone. And there's nothing I have to do on my own, because I am the place where God lives, rules and breathes and has his being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, rules and breathes and has his being. I am the place where God shows up. Have enough to do the things I need to do to take care of myself. Will I have the health of mind and body to live a life of grace and wholeness? Sometimes I wonder and ponder, only to realize I'm not alone, and there's nothing I have to do on my own. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has his being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has his being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God what a way. Moves and breathes and has his being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God moves and breathes and has his being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up. I am the place where God lives, moves and breathes and has its being. I am the place where God shows up.
All right. I am your practitioner of the week, and I want you to know that if you need prayer support at the end of the service, I will be there for you, and I will also be praying for you throughout the rest of the week until your next practitioner of the week joins us. But I am going to be assisted today by Beverly and Vicky so that we kind of break it up and hear some more beautiful spiritual voices. Beverly?
Good morning. Today's reading is selected from a book by Alan Cohen called A Daily Dose of Sanity. And so it's written in the first perspective, and I will step into the role of Alan as I read from the reading today. It starts with a quote by Mark Twain. The human race has unquestionably one effective weapon: laughter. So Mr. Cohen begins. One of my favorite cartoons portrays a classic spiritual pilgrim clawing his way up to the top of a Himalayan mountain. There he finds a bearded guru sitting with his eyes closed in deep meditation. At the guru's feet, the man reads a simple sign. The hokey Pokey. The stunned seeker raises his eyebrows and asks, "That's what it's all about?" You could laugh now. Enlightened beings have one characteristic in common: a light heart. They realize that their true identity is grander than the troubles the world possesses and poses. And they teach by joy more than words. I would think twice about studying spirituality with anyone who is terribly serious. They may have intellectual wisdom, but they have not childlike. There's a piece of truth I have yet to unearth. My friend Ernie and I were granted an audience with a revered Swami, an enlightened yogi who had introduced spiritual practices to America beginning in the 1960s. He opened the legendary Woodstock Music Festival with his invocation. My friend and I were ushered into the Swami's inner chamber and seated before him. At that time, Ernie liked to make deep, heartfelt eye contact with people, and he did his best to peer into the Swami's soul. After a few minutes of our conversation, the Swami turned to me and said, "Why is this guy staring at me?" And we all broke into laughter, including the Swami's very serious disciples. It was truly a moment of enlightenment. Psychologists tell us that one of the surest signs of mental illness is the absence of affect, or the loss of the ability to laugh. Sincere laughter is a sign of the presence of love. When you laugh about something you once took very seriously, you know you're healed. And then he asked the question in closing: how much better would your life be if you played more with the heart of a child? Thank you. And now, I'm going to check the schedule. We turn to our meditation. Vicky?
With so much pleasure and a playful heart, I take up the word passed to me, knowing that this just flows directly from Beverly's reading. What would my life be like if I played more? And so, taking that pausing breath from the heart of your inner child, even in childhood, the pausing breath is a really good idea. So from the outset of this opportunity in meditation today, let us imagine how might our lives have been different. Not only if we played more, but if among our playing and coming and going and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and all of the various things that probably all of us did as children, and even if we didn't do exactly the same things, it has some of the same feel just because we were all kids. What if someone had taught us to take the pausing breath from the very beginning? So I invite each of you, to whatever extent that it's safe, and if checking within you recognize it doesn't feel so safe to bring forward my true inner child, take the child's hand or walk with them, even if they don't want to hold a hand, and bring them as close as they're willing to come into this time, into this space. Model for them the breathing. Take a nice big breath and exhale. Some of them might be quite anticipatory. What are we doing? I've never been here before. Some of them are probably hiding their eyes either behind your shirt or your shoulder. But one by one, imagine not only yourself and your child, but imagine that you're in a space big enough to see all of the adults and children here. Imagine that we're gathered together in such a way, possibly a circle or a semicircle, that everyone can see everyone. And as there is a moment of stillness, just taking in that we are in community, and today we are in community bringing forth the child within. See if you can imagine settling, all being able to see each other. See if you can imagine assuring our inner children, it's all right. Everyone here is a friend. And it's all right to be here in community. It's all right to begin to recognize there's not a distinction between the child and the adult. The child always has access to the adult eyes. It's just a matter of this practice of coming forward in this way. And so as we're circled up, now everyone is settled enough to look around the space that you're in. Just imagine that on the edges of the circle where you are, there are shadows of interest. They might be shadows of trees. They might be shadows of boxes or houses or whatever you might imagine that is beyond the circle. It's perfectly safe. And rather than being such an open space, there are forms and objects there. They might be hills. And as you become oriented to the idea that on the edge of the circle, there are places and spaces, suddenly we hear the voice of Spirit. Spirit shows up in the center of the circle. Oh my goodness. And the way Spirit shows up for you is up to you. It's up to your inner child. You might just recognize the presence. You might hear a voice. You might see the Christ. You might see Gandhi or a grandfather figure, or you might see the Mother Mary. There is the presence of Spirit at the center. And the presence of Spirit invites, especially the children, let's play hide and seek. And so the children say, who's going to be it? And God says, I'm it. And the children say, well, you have to turn around and count so we can go hide. And so Spirit turns around 2 or 3 times and disappears, so that the children know that if they can't see God, then God can't see them. And Spirit counts to 10, from 10 down to 1, 10, 9. And as Spirit is counting down, the children let go. They recognize they're free. They know that the adults are going to stay with them and be safe, and they'll be there when they get back. And you run. You run outside the edge of the circle and you find your hiding place. 8, 7, God says. 6, 5. And finally, all the children are settling into their hiding place. 4, 3, 2, 1. And the game is up, and the children are just as quiet as they can possibly be. They're being as still as little mouses, and they know Spirit is looking for them. Oh my goodness, Spirit is looking for them. And some time goes by, and everybody's listening and wondering, and there is not a sound to be heard. And after a while, they all get wondering, well, when is God going to find me? When is God going to find me? And pretty soon, the most anxious of the little ones, they say, well, I'm not going to wait anymore. I'm going to pop up and see what's happening. And they pop up, and then as soon as one child realizes that there's movement, another child pops up. And when those two look into each other's eyes, they see God. And one child says to the other, I see the light of God right inside of you. No, I see God inside of you. And the other children hear what's happening, and everybody comes out of hiding, and everyone can see the light that was in the center of that circle. And the children come back to the adults. And this time, instead of holding hands in shyness, there are hugs. And everybody knows that Spirit is at the center of each one and at the circle at the same time. And so I let it be, and so it is.
Wow, Vicky, thank you for that. We move now to our special music. And it's not really music today, but it's something that will get you into the mood to play.
Done.
You guys, that's not how you play Twister.
What?
Who are you guys?
I'm Crystal. I'm Austin. Yes.
And together you are?
Hi, I'm Austin.
Okay, well, we're gonna bring the first game out. So I want you to take your shoes off. Okay, and then once your shoes are off, I want you to stand towards the back and cover your eyes. No peeking.
I'm not peeking.
Okay, you can open your eyes. You guys don't seem very excited.
I do not know. What is this game? What is it?
Wait, you guys have never seen this game before?
I think I know how. You spin the wheel, and then whatever you land on, like if you land on left hand, yellow, then you have to put your left hand on the yellow. I don't know what's wrong with my left hand. This is left when you eat. This is right when you go play.
Do you know how you lose this game?
How?
You fall over. So don't fall over.
Right foot on blue dots. Right. Wait, which one is my right foot? The one on this side or the one on this side? You have to do this to not fall. This one. Yes, that's your right foot. Left hand on red. Which one's my left hand? This one. It's the opposite from your right foot. I don't know how so small legs can keep a human up off the ground. Okay, left hand on yellow. No! Which one is my left hand? I can't reach. What? Yeah, but now we have to switch the color. Austin, you're out.
Austin's out.
Right foot on green. I'm out. Which one's my right foot? That one. Now you have to put that on the green. Justin, you're out. Left hand on green. What? Which one's my left hand? Thank you. I have my hand crossed. Now, Ethan wins. Yay! It's your turn to be the spinner. Okay.
Up hand. No, actually down hand.
What does that mean?
Right hand on green.
How about someone use the green over there?
Ow! Okay, now I'm all twisted up. Right hand! Left head, yellow. Left head? Hand, not head. Left head. I don't have two heads. Now I'm going to make this harder. Yeah. Right foot on green. I'm going to faint. Okay, right foot on green? Oh, wow. Oh. I'm a race car. Left foot. What? Let me see. Yellow. Left foot on yellow.
Nose on, let me think, red.
Oh, I can't do this also.
Yes, put your head down.
No, my face down. Ow.
Austin, I think you're out since you are laying on the mat.
Okay, thanks.
Now let me think. Right ear on blue.
What? Which one's my right ear anyway?
Right ear is the ear that doesn't have this. There you go. You know what? I think it's a tie. You guys both win.
Tiebreaker is the dance off. Tiebreaker is the dance off. Go, go, go.
Go, boy, go, go, boy, go.
Go, go, go.
Go, Crystal. Go, Justin. All right, all right.
Go, Justin, go.
All right, who's the winner? You guys have to vote on the winner.
Justin! Crystal! Justin!
Crystal, you're the winner.
Yay! That was hard. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for Hi-Ho.
There you go.
Taking a pause to let all that in. Also, I was having just a smidge of a technical challenge, but we're all good now. So I simply say to the adults and to the children in the room, good morning, everybody. I'm Vicky Jeter, a practitioner for Louisville Center for Spiritual Living. In all my time of living and teaching the science of mind, this is the first time I believe I've ever seen a whole month dedicated to play. So it occurs to me to take a pause right here, right now, to give you time to let it sink in and to let your inner child know we're putting play as a priority for the whole month of March. Wow. Within our theme for the year, this is everyday wonder happening right now. Last week, finishing up February on our theme of the inner life was even more wonderful because Reverend Carolyn was here and she brought us a message that love is the ultimate fear buster. This is most fitting since so often when we really get to the core of what's holding us back inside, what's really running our bottom line is fear. Reverend Carolyn said, love is the nature of the universe. It is our nature. We need only to remind ourselves of this truth. Fear, which is often clarified, most of you have probably heard, as false evidence appearing real, has no power in the presence of unconditional love. So moving into our new theme for March, CSL National said, Spirit is dancing around, in, as, and through us all the time, calling us to celebrate it all, the serious and the silly. What if at the end of the day, we're just playing Twister with God? Then, as the LCSL leadership team took this Sunday into prayer, Pat found the special music video that we played for today with the kids playing Twister, and that cinched today's talk title, Playing Twister with God. Now, who all remembers playing Twister when we were little? I came to love it because being the spinner, when we played with groups of kids, that was something I could do. So preparing for today, it just cracked me up watching that video several times, because when we were kids, it was right hand green, left foot blue, etc., etc., and that was it. Today, I think you all probably heard, apparently they have added your nose on yellow and your left ear on green. Okay. So today, we're going to engage play from 3 perspectives. Number 1, what is playful for you and how do you express your playfulness? Number 2, everyday playfulness with spirit. Number 3, imagination and synchronicity. Hopefully, it is often that you all have heard me say that being a spiritual being, having a human experience, is to be in a spiritual classroom, meaning we're here to learn and grow in our spirit and soul selves. What is equally true is that life in this dimension is also a spiritual playground as well. Spirit loves to have fun, and we are the eyes, the ears, the hands, the feet, the tears, and the laughter of spirit. Showing up to allow for the miracle of individual expression when we are truly really one is our gift to spirit. Spirit is eternally giving us the gift of life, love, and freedom to and through us. In return, through us, spirit experiences the joy and wonder of individual experiences and expressions of all kinds that would absolutely not be possible if spirit ever just stayed in bliss. When you look at it this way, it's a perfect deal. It's the way we have it all. Now, whether we in our individual lives are experiencing life on earth as a classroom or a playground, or whether you would describe it as something else entirely, depends on where and how we show up in consciousness, thoughts, feelings, and our choices. This is our reminder that the life we choose starts with our inner life, even play. As we discover and invite our playful side, it naturally bubbles up into who we are and how we do what we do in all of our days. It doesn't take work. So let's take a moment and ask yourself, where am I today? Ask yourself, what is playful for me and how do I express playfulness? Do you experience your life as a playground? Do you experience your life as playful only sometimes? Would you like to experience more playfulness? Take a moment to think about the last time you felt playful and did something that is playful for you. Maybe it was something on your own, like reading a book or doing something creative. Perhaps you're with family and friends and playing games. When you're with kids that you know and love, do you just watch them play, or do you dive in and play with them? If it seems you don't remember how to play like that, try throwing your inhibitions away, throw caution to the wind, and copy what they're doing until your gears of feeling playful loosen up. Now, You might very well be thinking, I don't know how to tell Spirit I want to play more. The beauty of this is Spirit literally does meet us where we show up. Spirit could meet us in all kinds of fun and joy every day in our experiences, if that's where we're coming from and what we're open to in any given moment. Now, this does not mean that we abandon maturity or that we quit taking care of our commitments in life. It is doing all of that without leaving the eyes and the heart of your inner child out. You let the inner child come with you, much like we did in the meditation. Just imagine that your child is always there watching and listening. Life will surely still present us with plenty of ups and downs, but with the touch of a childlike perspective, it really is like playing Twister with Spirit. Sometimes Spirit spins the dial, and sometimes we spin the dial. Spiritual Passages puts it this way: as we recognize that we're playing with the divine all the time, we connect with those divine qualities of freedom and joy that flow naturally from deep connection with the heaven within. Peaceful relationships and a release of the need to struggle emerge when we are living from this perspective. Also, when we play Twister, we intertwine and find ourselves up close and personal in all kinds of unexpected ways. Who hasn't dissolved into the giggles when we found our face in someone else's armpit while reaching for right foot on green? Playing Twister with God is the same. No matter what we think is going to happen, we're continually intertwining in unexpected ways with the infinite. Life changes, surprises happen, failures happen, wild successes all happen. As intuition feeds us the next step, left hand on yellow, the entire universe is swirling about and in a complementary dance with us, shifting us in a million tiny ways and holding us up at the same time. That's the paradox of how the creative process works. It all happens simultaneously, even though that seems it would be impossible. Nothing and no one knows us better than we know ourselves, and God knows us. And as we let Spirit all the way in, we get to really experience it. Cultivating a life of joy involves making space for play that lights you up, be it golfing or roller disco or an evening with a really good friend. When we start the game, God always joins in. And as Bev encouraged us, be ready to laugh. The Twister is going to happen. The question is, are we willing to embrace the play of it? Twister is ridiculous, but no more so than the joyful unfoldment of the absolutely incalculable ways in which we are playing Twister with God, and that can delight and surprise us. As Ernest Holmes says, if we are to know a God of joy, we must be joyful. Let go of the confusion that tells us that spirituality must be serious. Play, laughter, and joy are keys to our true nature, and they are important. Teilhard de Chardin tells us, joy is the most infallible sign of the presence of God. When we make the space inside to really laugh, to live in the expression of joy, we are being our most God selves. And Scott Aubrey says, I should say Reverend Scott Aubrey, he's the one that brings us these wonderful spiritual passages. Reverend Scott Aubrey says, the trick to letting God be God in our lives is to allow the divine to be perfectly itself and not try to twist it to fit our image of what we think it should be. This is sincerely what Winnie the Pooh and all his friends from the 100-Acre Wood would say. When we find our way to living freely without trying to fit ourselves into a mold and we stop expecting ourselves and our friends to be different than what they were born to be, everything works out naturally. It's allowing and trusting when it starts to look like what we didn't think it was supposed to look like. It may just be very different than how we thought it was supposed to turn out. Now, there are two fabulous ways that I know to put playfulness with spirit into action that all of you can do in your own unique ways, using your imagination and engaging synchronicities. Most likely, this morning has fired up your imaginations. I hope so. And I encourage you to look forward to consciously playing with your imagination more this week. There are countless ways to use your imagination. You can pretend to be one of your favorite characters in a book or on TV. You can wander around, daydreaming. You can imagine and pretend what it would be like if your greatest wish came true. One of my favorite ways to imagine is to talk to everyday stuff in my life and then imagine what it would say back. For example, right here, right now, if I say, "Hello there, Pooh Bear," Pooh Bear says, "Hello, Vicky. Hello, Vicky's friends. Can you all come and take a ride on the hot air balloon with me?" There'll be more about the hot air balloon in a little bit. Vernon and I most often greet our cars just like they're family members when we go to get in and go somewhere. And we don't just say hello or good morning. We listen to see what the car says back. You can even try this having fun in relationship to your own body. So here's an example that happened just a couple nights ago. Vernon got up at about 2 a.m. for a bile break. Knowing his path very well, he did not need to open his eyes. He got in front of the door and his hands could not find the doorknob to go in. Fumbling around in vain, his hands declared, "What's going on here?" His eyes still did not bother to open. So his hands and his feet all got into it with his eyes. "What's the deal? Open, please." By the time Vernon got back to me, we were both laughing so hard as he told me this story. And shifting now from imagination to synchronicities, which I know most of you heard me talk about this before. Synchronicities is one of my very, very favorite ways to engage spirit, and spirit will engage synchronicities from your adult self or from your child self. It can be an experience like this kind of joy and laughter every day. And I have two examples I want to share. One comes from our community member, Linda Lawyer. We were talking about this last week, and she called me to let me know of this fabulous demonstration she had. And I asked her, I said, "Oh my goodness, this is a perfect example. Can I use this in my talk?" And she said, "Absolutely." So this past week, Linda had cause to recall receiving great inspiration and support from a man named Dr. Gabriel Cousins. She originally met him several years ago at the Tree of Life Center in Patagonia, Arizona. And I'm curious if Bev knows where Patagonia is. I love that name. She decided she wanted to get back in touch with Dr. Cousins, but she couldn't find anything about him anywhere on the internet. She got the impression, much to her dismay, that he had moved back to India. The next day, which was a Monday, she virtually joined Peter Ross' internet show through the Heart River Center of Intuitive Healing. She was truly in awe and wonder when she heard the special guest introduced, Gabriel Cousins. By the end of the 30-minute show, Linda had the contact information that she was looking for, absolutely knowing she would be able to reconnect with this fabulous resource. Finally, just this last Thursday night, Spirit gifted Vernon and I with this fantastic new toy, the Rainbow Hot Air Balloon Windsock, an unexpected gift from such a fun friend. And it matches the twister mat exactly. I'm going to see if I can lift this up again so you guys can see the balloon. Can you see it? So, to recap, here are the action steps we can take to live in everyday wonder playfully. Remember, it all starts with your inner life first. Keep in touch with your inner child. Consider buying yourself a toy that you love. I hear snickering going on about that. And I'm here to tell you, if initially the thought of that, if you shy away from it, I want to encourage you to contemplate the things that you loved as a child and get your courage up and go one day to Target or Toys R Us or wherever it might be. You would be amazed how much it will mean deep, deep inside you if you go and you actually let the small child come up and pick out that toy. And bring your imagination out to play, watching for synchronicities. In closing, this week, with wonder and joy and play in your heart, explore the ways in which you let God be joy in your life. Seek ways to play, be willing to giggle and guffaw, and celebrate the unimaginable beauty of a life spent playing Twister with God. Taking another pause. Even when things are the best, even when we're so connected and filled with light and love, we remember when we shift to pause. That's one way that I absolutely know that we create space for ourselves, when at one time we would end up backed into a corner. When we remember to pause when life is good, that's what creates the leveraging that says we no longer get backed into a corner. And so, once again, demonstrating for that child, we shift from doing one thing to doing another. We take a nice big breath, stretch at the top of it, notice the pause, and perhaps give a little yawn intentionally, and exhale. We come into prayer time, absolutely in this moment, recognizing beyond doubt that Spirit has chosen the very center of our beings as the perfect hiding place for a lifelong game of hide and seek. And yes, it comes and it goes and it ebbs and it flows. That's the movement of life. That's the game of Twister. And everything's all right. It is in divine order, in God's way, in God's timing. And we are continually learning to expand and trust and step out and step back and stretch for all the primary colors of life, the green and the yellow and the red and the blue. And yes, even sometimes with our nose to the ground, still it is the game of life that is endless and eternal, and God is ever giving us that life and love and freedom to be able to respond to it as we would choose. And so for this time and for this knowing, inviting every person here to take this into their inner playground and their inner classroom and make the most of it for yourselves. Thank you, thank you, thank you, God. I just release it and let it be, and so it is.
Good morning again. We are so glad you're here. We're so glad that you've been a part of us today. And this is a time in our service where we remind you of the wonderful opportunity to give to your spiritual home and to our center. For me, that giving is a part of the process of reciprocity. As you give out, you receive back in that flow of giving and receiving. And for me, that's a part of that knowing and understanding and lightness that comes with the process. We encourage you to do that so that we continue to exist, because that is an important part of being here. There are bills to be paid, and you will understand more about those when you come to our annual meeting coming up in the next few months. If you go to our chat page, you'll see several ways that you can choose to donate, and we are grateful when you use any one of them.
Yes, we are.
To say our prosperity affirmation together for this month, I will say it and then invite you to join me. The peace, prosperity, and power of the one life is abundantly mine now. Yes, please join me. The peace, prosperity, and power of the one life is abundantly now, and let's give it a big yes.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm going to turn it back to Pat for the blessing of our offering.
And in my basket are the many lovely cards that you send with your generous donations, and I bless them as they come in. And I bless them now by saying that there is one God, one life, one supply. Thank you for being the light within, excuse me, that halos our time, talents, and treasure, and causes us to understand that the flow of all three from us is the same flow that circles back to us multiplied. We are grateful to be blessed in such ways, both as a center and individually. Blessing the gift and the giver, I offer these words to the law that always says yes, and I release them there to become evident. And so it is.
And so it is. I had the opportunity this morning to go over our announcements with you. And I'm going to move myself around just a little bit to be able to read them better. So don't forget, today would be your last day to join the class for Reverend Jesse Jennings, The Sacred and the Profane. It begins tomorrow, 6 p.m. One more chance. I would like to give you the name of our guest speaker for next week on March the 13th. It is Kim Bobo, and if I'm not saying that correctly, somebody will give me a little correction.
Bebo.
Bebo, thank you. And do not forget that it is also daylight savings time. Be sure, please, to set your clock ahead, spring forward for 1 hour next Sunday, so you won't be late for church. In closing, I love our saying together, Join me, please. You are magnificent, each and every one and all together. Thank you.
You are indeed magnificent. And so you are magnificent wherever you go. So join us in singing Kylie's Wherever I Go.
I am letting go of fear, it's no longer welcome here. And the shackles that once bound me now are gone. I am free to live each day as God's love shows me the way. Yes, the love of God is with me wherever I go. Wherever I go, wherever I go. The love of God is with me wherever I go. Yes, the sun is always shining and the river always flows. And the love of God is with me wherever I go. I am tearing down the walls that keep me from seeing all of the goodness that I know we each possess. Now my cup is spilling out, only goodness, no more doubt. Yes, the good of God is with me wherever I go. Wherever I go, wherever I go. The good of God is with me wherever I go. Yes, the sun is always shining and the river always flows. And the good of God is with me wherever I go. I am joyful all the while, and I show it with my smile that completely stretches now from ear to ear. Yes, my joy of God's complete as I share with those I meet. All the joy of God that's with me wherever I go. Wherever I go, wherever I go. Oh, the joy of God is with me wherever I go. And the sun is always shining and the river always flows. And the joy of God is with me wherever I go. And the love of God is with me wherever I go.
It should be considered good and right to live and to enjoy living. Ending this sermon service as we began, for the collective, I say thank you. And we carry that gratitude into the coming week, knowing that we are the change that we want to see in the world. We are. We are blessed to have this day, our yesterday, and all of our tomorrows. Blessed to have each other and this philosophy that taught us God is within and we are never separated. Not now, not ever. And with those and many other gratitudes, we lift our joyful words up into a law that always says yes, automatically and impartially. And there we release them. And so it is.